welcome to another fun-filled edition of Second City Sports for Monday. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeena McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Lakeena McGee on the Twitter and at Lakeena_McGee on the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app. You want to know why? Because we said so, that's why. And also, so you can catch all the other Five Live shows throughout the week. You happen to miss them, you can go back and listen and watch them at your own leisure. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app today. You can also follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, that's Sports Zone Chicago on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You want to catch our podcast? You can do so by subscribing to War on Anger. We are available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. Make sure you type this in your search engine boxes on those podcast platforms. You ready? WARR on Anger. Once again, at War on Anger. And you can follow War Media at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, at War Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any opinions on any of our topics we're going to cover today for our 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions and comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. But you decide to troll and do something stupid, or as you young folks will say, add ignorant, I'm giving Lakeena full power to give you fools to barrel and beer boot.
Bye-bye.
I love when you say that. Lakeena, let's kick off this Monday edition of Second City Sports by discussing the Chicago White Sox. Lakeena, I asked you the question last Friday, have the White Sox turned the corner after taking 3 of 5 games for the Kansas City Royals? You said, let's wait and see what happens in New York City over the weekend. Guess what happened? The White Sox finally woke up and took 2 out of 3 for the Yankees. Yay! But have they turned the corner yet? We'll get into all that, and plus the Tim Anderson, Josh Donaldson dust up in just a moment as well. The White Sox, minus Saturday's game, even though they did do some of this in Saturday's game, situational hitting, great pitching, great bullpen. And guess what happens when you stick to a game plan? You win most of the time. That's exactly what the Southsiders did after losing Saturday's game. They swept the Twin Bill yesterday by the scores of 3-1 and 5-0 on Sunday Night Baseball. Great, outstanding starting pitching by Johnny Cueto and Michael Kopech. Liam Hendricks looked great in the first game, shutting things down in the 9th inning for his 13th save of the year. And the bullpen, introducing Ronaldo Lopez to a national audience, did the job as well. Lakeena, Tim Anderson has been swinging the bat very well all season long. He's currently batting .359. Andrew Vaughn is starting to turn around after coming off a hand injury a couple of weeks ago. Yasmani Grandal, we'll get to him in other matters in just a moment, but looks like he's starting to swing the bat. Jose Abreu is starting to swing the bat. We talked about this on our last show on Friday. He's carrying that momentum over to the Yankees series. You saw what he did. Lakeena, I really like what this team is doing right now. Looks like they finally started to turn the corner. We still have a long way to go. I know we'll get into the schedule once again for the White Sox coming up for this week, but I really like the way this team is playing right now. And what happened on Saturday, we'll get to it in just a moment. It seems like the White Sox used that as their wake-up call, and you saw what's been happening over these last 48 hours.
Yeah, and I think that's this is kind of the thing that the White Sox needed to get 2 out of 3 against a really good Yankees team. They got one of the best records in the majors, and look, Michael Kopech put on the show for the nation, shutout innings and such. And the White Sox actually took advantage of the runners in scoring position. Who knew? That was their weakness these last few weeks, especially. And going back to the early game, they looked really good as well, that doubleheader. So they're sort of starting to kind of, find their groove a little bit. They could be turning the corner, sure. I mean, I think, look, you win 2 out of 3 against the Yankees. I think that's always a good thing. So we'll see if they do that. I mean, they have Boston coming to G-rate starting tomorrow. I'm wondering, they've been playing a little bit better, using the Red Sox. So, yeah, I think, look, this is sort of like something that the White Sox need. The White Sox need to kind of get their groove back and such. I mean, they won get Dante for some reason. They won 3 out of 5 against the Royals, but yeah, I think the Yankees, that might have gotten to turn the corner.
And also, too, let's talk about the starting pitching that has carried this team all season long. Dylan Cease, who did not pitch in this series against the Yankees, he'll take the bump against the Red Sox during their series here in Chicago later on this week. Michael Kopech, as Lakeena mentioned, he was outstanding last night. 7 shutout innings. He carried a no-hitter into the 6th inning. He gave up 1 hit, struck out 7, and that was very impressive. I know Kopech is one of the leaders in ERA so far for starters in MLB this season. You look at Johnny Cueto, he had 6 shutout innings in his first start last week at Kansas City. And he did this same thing against the Yankees yesterday in the first game. 6 innings, gave up 6 hits, struck out 6. And if you're the White Sox, we've been begging and pleading all season long. Take advantage of these starts by your starting pitchers by giving them run support. It wasn't enough, in my opinion, but it was enough to obviously for them to sweep the doubleheader yesterday against the Yankees and send them the message: hey, we're a team that if we do what we're supposed to do, you're going to have to come through us come October.
Yeah, let's see if the problem is unfortunately the Twins are still winning, so I think that's the
Mm-hmm.
only problem for the White Sox so far. Now, as far as the getting like the pitching, like I said, Kopech looked good yesterday, last night, in the Sunday night baseball game. That was really a big. He's been very consistent all year. In the early game of that doubleheader, like the Sox did what they could. The bullpen looked really good. Kendall Graveman, sort of pitched lights out. They were pretty much, I don't want to say unhittable, but they wanted, they sort of
Mm-hmm.
dominated, and they showed like the reason why they were one of the best middle relievers in the league last year. So I think, look, if you're the Sox, if you're a White Sox fan, like should be feeling pretty good at this point of the season. You're starting to kind of turn the corner a little bit. We'll see. They got a 3-gamer against the Red Sox coming up tomorrow, like I said, and we'll see how they do against them. I mean, I think, like I said, I know the Red Sox are struggling a little bit. They kind of gotten it together a little bit as of late. So this could be very interesting to see, this series here. We'll see what happens.
And we'll see what happens moving forward with the White Sox. So, as you mentioned, 3 against the Red Sox starting tomorrow on the South Side. And of course, you have odd day off on Friday. And then, of course, you host the Cubs for the final 2 games between those 2 teams this season coming up this upcoming weekend on the South Side. Lakeena, let's dip into the so-called controversy quickly. The Josh Donaldson, Tim Anderson saga. Of course, Josh Donaldson slid into Tim Anderson in a hard, quote-unquote, hard slide during their battle last weekend here in Chicago. Of course, on Saturday, it was alleged that Josh Donaldson called Tim Anderson Jackie to get under his skin, referring to an article back in 2019, somewhere around in there. As people allege that Tim Anderson called himself the next Jackie Robinson, which was not true. But in any case, Josh Donaldson, we know that he's been a pest throughout his whole career, especially in recent memory, is more of Josh Donaldson versus the White Sox. But after Josh Donaldson called Tim Anderson Jackie, when his turn to bat came up in the bottom of the 5th inning, the Yasmani Grandal took up for Tim Anderson, got in his face. Of course, both benches empty. Thank goodness no punches were thrown. Tim Anderson came out of the dugout, really wanted the piece of Donaldson, but nothing occurred. Of course, MLB is carrying on an internal investigation. And of course, after the game on Saturday, Tony La Russa just mentioned that it was a racist comment. He didn't comment any further. Of course, Yasmani Grandal said there's no place for comments like that between Anderson and Josh Donaldson. Of course, Liam Hendriks said, if you're friends or close buddies, you don't joke around like that. And we got Tim Anderson's back. Lakeena, you can look at it from 1,000 angles, especially us being of Black American descent. No one, including people that look like us, should tell us how we should feel. And I say that to everyone. People are different. We may have the same skin color, but we do not think alike. We think differently because we're human beings, first of all. So I'm not going to tell Tim Anderson how he's supposed to feel. That's not my place or anybody else's place. But in my opinion, I thought Tim Anderson instigated the incident a little bit too further. If he really wanted a piece of Josh Donaldson, he could have gotten him right there before Yasmani Grandal said something to Donaldson. But with that being said, Lakeena, Tim Anderson, I like him personally, but at times it seems like he wants to force the issue a little bit too much once again, I'm not going to tell somebody how to feel because that's not my place or anybody else's place. But we all know that Tim Anderson, he's the leader in that clubhouse in terms of the attitude and the swag. But I think that he's carried this thing on just a little bit too much. We know about the incident with giving the Cleveland fans the turkey bird.
Mhm.
And of course, he yelled out the N word a couple of years ago. One of the Kansas City players, which was not smart. But Tim Anderson, in some ways, have brought this among himself. Now, Josh Donaldson, we all know his history, as I said before. He's no innocent angel in this either. Most of the trouble he's created, he's brought on himself as well. So both men are guilty to a certain degree in this situation.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I remember some of those articles. I remember him, referring to himself as Jackie. And, you can look, I know that because we have some friends out there that probably said, oh, you know what, it was more, he wanted to say, Donaldson, I mean, wanted to say the N word and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. But I don't know. Look, I mean, Donaldson's a jerk. We know this, and could be a d bag at times. But I think I think both sides are wrong here in this sense that don't like say it and like think it's a term of endearment. Some people may take that, and be offended by it. So I just think that people should just, I think I can see both sides of it, but I think, both sides were wrong. And look, we'll see if MLB. I don't think MLB is going to do anything. I think they may find Donaldson, and that's about it. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
if people are saying he should be suspended for like 10 games. No, he shouldn't. No, I mean that's like I've seen guys get suspended for saying worse stuff than what he said to him.
Yeah.
So just I would say like I think look, we love TA. We love his passion and what he brings to baseball, and we need more stars like him. But I just think that maybe this. I don't want to say that he's trying to mix something. I get why he felt offended by it, but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, though, I kind of think maybe it might have taken a little bit too much. Now, Grandal, I mean, to his credit, look, I mean, maybe he took that as a maybe he kind of took that as a took offense to it. Who knows? But so I don't know. I see both sides of it. I know that some people will think of it as something, or some people may think it's something else. I think people should just, say their piece and just, move on. And, look, Donaldson, this has been going on for years with him, the most of the teams he's been at. So it isn't really a big shocker. But yeah, like I said, I think people should just, take a step back and just sort of see and peel through the layers of, I think people want to be people want to be offended by something these days.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I like I said, I can get why Tim, took it like he did. But again, I think there's just some cases where you just kind of like, I doubt they'll be hugging it out anytime soon, but you just gotta kind of
Yeah.
just take it like a little bit further.
Okay, just a couple more nuggets about this, and then we'll move on. I was watching both post-game shows on Saturday, the Yes Network in New York, and of course NBC Sports Chicago. Lawrence Holmes was filling in for Chuck Garfield's Lawrence and Ozzie Guillen. I thought, and I tweeted this out on my Twitter timeline on Saturday. Ozzie Guillen talked about team unity and team togetherness, and one of the points he brought up as well is he said Tim Anderson would have threw a punch at Donaldson, he would have been suspended, and somebody else from the White Sox or the Yankees side would have thrown a punch. They would have been fined and suspended as well. So Ozzie Guillen, I thought was very observant, very smart when he said the White Sox, we talk about them going through injuries right now. They can't afford to lose any more guys, especially Tim Anderson, who's been one of the few best hitters on the team next to Luis Robert all season long. So, like I said, if Tim Anderson really wanted to go at Josh Donaldson, he had his opportunity, but he didn't do it. And people could say that's smart, which is true because I guarantee if he would have thrown a couple punches at Donaldson, he would have been suspended for tomorrow's game, or perhaps maybe even one of the games against the Cubs coming up next weekend. So it was smart for Tim Anderson to do, but like we said, both of them have faults of their own. Have the flaws of their own on both sides. Now, I'll give credit to the Yes Network because I watched some of their coverage as well. John Flaherty, former Yankee catcher and Devil Ray catcher, and Jack Curry, who used to cover the Yankees for the New York Times back in the day. He's been their studio analyst on the Yes Network for years. Both of them said, and this is before we've learned about the Jackie comments from Donaldson and Tim Anderson and among other players. Both of them said just what you echoed, Lakeena. Donaldson has been a pest wherever he's been. I know he's upset some teammates of his own throughout the years. And John Flaherty, I thought, brought up an interesting point before we learned why the beef took place on Saturday. He said It's almost like the White Sox. So we celebrate this player. He's a broadcaster now for Fox. I think he'll be doing the Cubs Sox series this week, but I'm not sure. But AJ Brzezinski, remember he had that reputation with early in his career with the Minnesota Twins, in that 1 year with the San Francisco Giants in 2004 before Kenny Williams brought him aboard for the Sox for that 2005 season. He's a pest to everybody else on the field, to the opponents, but if he's your teammate, most of your teammates will love you. And that's what John Flaherty of the Yes Network said about Josh Donaldson. But I'm not saying you shouldn't have guys like that on your team, but you just got to be smart.
We really do. And in closing here, yeah, I think both sides were wrong. I know, like, some people may, look at it and say, "Oh, he was trying to say, a different the N word, and that was code." But then, more stuff comes out that, yeah, he called himself that, and I think, I don't know, but look, I think at this point, I think people need to kind of just step back and stop trying to be offended by something. So, we'll see what happens.
All right. You're listening to Second City Sports on the Monday edition. We're live in 11 color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakeena here with you. You have a question or comment for us, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube and type in your questions or comments in the comment section. Lakeena or myself will get them up on the screen for you. You have any comments regarding the Tim Anderson, Josh Donaldson situation? We'd love to hear from you. Just be responsible with your comments, and we'll get them up on the screen for you. We'll discuss it. We'll discuss a little bit further. Now, turning our attention to the rest of baseball from the weekend, the Atlanta Braves failed to sweep the Florida Marlins. The Marlins got the best of the Braves yesterday, avoiding a sweep at home. The Philadelphia Phillies avoided a sweep on their own ballpark at Citizens Bank Ballpark. They beat the Dodgers by the score of 4-3 yesterday in 10 innings. Of course, St. Louis and Pittsburgh, a series that Major League Baseball wanted you to care about. 2 of those 3 games were on the exclusive streaming services. Did you watch? St. Louis took care of Pittsburgh with no problem.
18-4. Like, Jesus Christ. I mean, oh yeah, like, what the heck? Like, oh yeah, no, that was bad. The Red Sox, won their series against Seattle. They had to go to 10 innings, but 8
that was a
4.
great finish yesterday. I checked out some of that
Grand
after the
slam.
White Sox first game. Yeah,
grand slam. So
yes.
And Cincinnati avoided the sweep against the Blue Jays. I think the Blue Jays kind of just took that that yesterday's game off after they beat the Reds pretty handily in the first few games of that series. Minnesota came back from 6-0 down and came back to beat the Royals 7-6.
I saw some of that too. Yep.
Yeah, and the Mets beat Colorado 2-0. San Diego got the best of the Giants, winning that series. Also, too, the Angels got back on track, winning their series against the A's.
Shohei Ohtani, did you check out that monster home run yesterday?
Yes, he did. I don't think they
almost 450 feet, I believe it was. My goodness, it's center field.
Yeah, I don't think they found that. I don't think they still have that ball. Have found that ball yet? I think so. That's still. I don't think they found it yet. I think that's out in the OC, like the PCH highway or something like that. But yeah, so very interesting there. The Cubs avoided the sweep. Beating the Diamondbacks 5-4. Schwindel and Wisdom, they had some big RBIs for the Cubs, so they avoid the sweep. Thank goodness.
Yeah, they're the first teammates since 1969 to both homer back-to-back and back-to-back games. So they avoided the sweep. They avoided the sweep of the Diamondbacks. Great moments for those players yesterday.
Yeah, heck of a way to do it too. So they needed that too, because they, like I said, they were on the verge of getting swept there. So that was a nice showing there by the Cubs. Okay, going into this week's series, excuse me, Colorado and Pittsburgh. That game is going to come on tonight at 5:35. The Cubs will travel to Cincy to play the Reds. So that's a nice way to kind of get yourself back on track if you're the Cubs.
Yeah.
The Yankees will try to get back on track as well, but Baltimore has been given a hard time this year, so we'll see what happens in that series. The Dodgers and the Nationals, they continue their East Coast road trip. The Phillies and the Braves, we'll see how that goes in the AL East. Detroit and Minnesota, good one here in the AL Central. Toronto and St. Louis, that should be a fun one. Lots of scoring there.
Yeah.
The Guardians and Houston, that's a 7:10. Kansas City and Arizona. Milwaukee and San Diego, that should be a fun one at 8:40. Oakland and Seattle, teams that have underachieved this year, so we'll see how that that series goes. And the Mets continue start their West Coast road trip as they face the Giants.
In other series, they'll start tomorrow. Tuesday will be, of course, Boston at Chicago against the White Sox on the south side. The Florida Marlins, the Battle of Florida, they'll travel to Tampa Bay to face the Rays. And the Rangers and the Angels will do battle from SoCal tomorrow. And Brewers and Projects, I think you mentioned that. Yeah, that's about it. So those are the series that are starting for you around Major League Baseball for this upcoming week. Quickly, Lakeena, about the Chicago Cubs. They avoided being swept yesterday by the Diamondbacks. The starting pitching, Kyle Hendricks, his start on Friday wasn't that great. The bullpen, we won't blame it all on the bullpen, but whenever you're starting pitching, it's not good. The bullpen has to clean up the mess, and the Cubs bullpen tried to do that this week. They were just unsuccessful. But the offense, they're starting to pick it up again, but the problem is they just haven't put it together for long stretches.
Yeah,
and that's why they're 8 games under 500.
Yeah, that's been the problem. Look at inconsistency, especially with the hitting. So they could score like 10, 12 runs, but then other games they don't score any. So or maybe like 1 or 2. So that's been really the big problem for the Cubs so far this season. So we're gonna take a really quick break. When we come back, conference finals. Some games one series might end a little sooner than one thought. We'll get more on that and more Zach LaVine rumors because we've had so many lately. Along with Cindy Brown, I'm Lakeena McGee. This is Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you on the other side of this break.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago. NBA Thursday, the Bulls dropped their second straight 126-109 the loss at New Orleans. The Bulls are 42-31 with the setback. Zach LaVine led the scoring for Chicago with 39 points. Kobe White had 23. The Pelicans got 30 points from Devontae Graham, 25 from CJ McCollum, and a double-double from Jonas Valanciunas. Up next for the Bulls, they'll try and snap the skid tomorrow night when they visit Cleveland. The Blackhawks put a 2-game winning streak on the line tomorrow when they visit the Vegas Golden Knights. Chicago with a 4-3 win at Los Angeles yesterday. Alex DeBrincat had the shootout winner. Colin Delia made 43 saves through overtime in just his second start of the season. Spring training Thursday, the Angels beat the Cubs 5-4. Today, it'll be the Cubs taking on the Rockies. The Giants beat the White Sox 9-6. Today, the Sox will face the Mariners. For lightning fast sports updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of the most popular sports apps in North America. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
Nobody protects you from mayhem like Allstate. I'm a speed bump. Did you hear what I said? I'm a speed bump. And if you have cut-rate car insurance, the cost to reattach your muffler could really be a bump in the road. So switch to Allstate, save money, and be better protected from mayhem, like me.
Based on coverage and limits selected, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. In most states, prices vary based on how you buy. Allstate Bar and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel teaches you conversations that you will actually use. With 14 languages and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll learn what matters most to you. Babbel. Language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com.
Welcome back to Second City Sports, the live and 11 color, the Monday edition, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakeena here with you as we transfer over to talking NBA Conference Finals. If you have a question or comment for us during our now 90 minutes of extravaganza left, we call a sports talk radio show. You can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in questions and comments in the comment section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. Lakeena, let's start off as we go backwards as we usually do. Last night's Game 3 of the NBA's Western Conference Finals between the Golden State Warriors and the Dallas Mavericks. took place deep in the heart of Texas. The Golden State Warriors now hold a commanding 3-0 series lead after a 109-100 victory over the Dallas Mavericks. Steph Curry led the Warriors with 31 points. Andrew Wiggins chipped in with 27. Klay Thompson had 19. Golden State Warriors only had 13 points total off their bench. Jordan Poole with 10 of them. But it was an all-around team effort for the Golden State Warriors that held down Luka Doncic in the Dallas Mavericks defensively. The key stat here was the offensive rebounding. Golden State was up to the task while Dallas was trying to figure out what to do defensively. Lakeena, I don't know. We'll dive deeply more into this game, but my couple of observations taken away from this game last night, the Warriors, they just don't shoot the ball well, but they pass the ball very well, as better as any other team in the NBA. Defensively, even though they're not as great as people think they are, they did a number on Luka last night. Just like not so much the second game, but the first game, they took some of that, what they did in the first game, they added on to what they did against Luka and his mates last night on the road.
Well, unfortunately for the Mavs, I mean, they've now lost 4 straight playoff games with Luka scores 40-plus points. That's tied for them for the longest losing streak by a player scoring 40-plus points in the playoff history with this team losing. You got to go way back to Rick Barry in the mid-'70s. So not good if you're the Mavs. I mean, look, Georgie Bullock had 0 points. He was 0 for 10 from the field. It's 0 for 7 from 3. That's not good. I know Dorian Finney-Smith, he only scored 9. He struggled from the field. I know that Dinwiddie had 26 off the bench, but that wasn't enough. So
he was really their best player last night, despite Luka scoring 40.
Yeah, that him and Brunson, but Brunson missed a couple of key shots that would have definitely helped the deficit if you're the Mavs. Now, as far as the Warriors, I mean, look, the Warriors are the Warriors, and look, they shot 34% from 3, which is actually sort of an off night for them. But you had more guys stepped up. You had Jordan Poole came in with 10 points. Andrew Wiggins had 27. So you had like guys. It was a good like team performance. And when Poole wasn't doing was just doing it from the field or from the outside, he made some key defensive stops. So just a complete total like team win by the Warriors. And this is actually when experience. This is when experience sort of wins out in these conference finals. I mean, this isn't the first rodeo for the Warriors. I mean, Steph had his seventh 30-point game in the playoffs. He joins LeBron and MJ are the only players to have that many. So just a great effort by them.
Yeah, what did I tell you before the series kicked off, Lakeena, last week? I said one of my key players for the Warriors this series was Andrew Wiggins. Now, he had a nice game with the 19 points in Game 1. He helped shut down, neutralize Luka Doncic in Game 1. Game 2, he was almost a no-show, but Game 3, he came up big, as you mentioned, with 27 points and that monster dunk over Luka. He went back to his college days at Kansas and threw one down. As great Bill Walton would say, throw him down, big man. Throw him down. But he was very aggressive on the offensive end last night. As we said, Klay Thompson and Steph Curry can get it going. It's going to make it easier for the other guys. Like I said, Klay Thompson only had 19 points, but Steph stepped up big. But when you have guys like Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins stepping up to the forefront in terms of scoring, the Warriors are hard to beat.
They really are, and it's just unfortunate because you go back to the Friday's game when Dallas is up big, at Golden State, and the Warriors. Of course, you guys know the Warriors came back. Calvin Looney had like his most points since he was at UCLA. So, and that was a while ago. That was about 5 or 6 years ago. So it's been a minute since he scored that many, but he definitely stepped up. So that's how you say the depth and the unsung heroes and the experience. I think that definitely helped the Warriors. Now, if you're the Mavs, you better try to I'm sure they're going to put in the effort to try to extend this, but it's going to be very hard because I'm sure if you're the Warriors, you want to try to put them away and, do it like with a quickness.
As I said before, Lakeena, I said this on Friday's show. Luka was going to have one of those games where he was going to put the team on his back and the Dallas Mavericks would win. Now, he did that with 40 points last night, but you could tell he was just struggling. Every shot that he took from the outside was a struggle. I know the Warriors forced a couple of air balls and it forced Luka to throw away a couple of bad passes, but you could tell that it was a struggle just to put up a shot last night. Whenever he didn't drive the ball into the lane, each jump shot he took, it was a struggle because no one else at the time for the Mavericks wanted to step up and help him out. Is standing around watching Luka do his thing. That's not how you play basketball offensively. You move the ball around, you screen, you cut, and once you do that, everybody touches the ball. It increases your chances to score for everybody. You just can't focus on just one guy.
Yeah, I think that's been the problem. And Luka's done his thing. I think more guys need to step up. Dorian Finney-Smith, you gotta step up. Reggie Bullock. I mean, look, you came through.
No points. That's inexcusable.
Yeah, you came through in the series against the Suns. You came through, but again, these are the Warriors. Max Kleber, 0 points. That's not going to cut it. So
he passed up about 2 or 3 shots last night after he missed the first couple 3-point shots. I know Reggie Miller pointed out on the telecast.
Yeah, he had like a couple of good looks, but then he passed on it. So who knows if he would have taken those shots? But yeah, it's like I said, this is going to be very interesting. To see when they do play game 4, how will the Mavs mindset is? Will their mindset be, tomorrow? Will the mindset be, hey, let's try to fight, let's try to get back into the series and at least make it respectable, or will they just crawl into a hole in the field position and just let the Warriors just run them off the court? It'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Lakeena, what can the Mavericks do defensively? Like as we said before, ever since the trade deadline, they improved their team defensively, and give head coach Jason Kidd credit for that. What can you do at this point to make any adjustments defensively? Because Steph Curry got back on track last night. Jordan Poole was in foul trouble. He probably would have scored over 20 points if he wasn't in foul trouble. Klay Thompson, you kind of held him in check so far in this series, but if you're Jason Kidd, what else can you do?
I mean, just pray that the Warriors miss their shots. I mean, you tried all that. You kept Klay at bay, but then Steph was good, and then Wiggins had his best game of the playoffs. So it's just sort of one of those things where you just gotta look. They play well at home, and I think up until that loss, they were they weren't undefeated, but I think they were right up there in that sense. So if you're if you're the Mavericks, you better see if you can try maybe get them the force take bad shots, and if they miss their especially open threes, that's going to be the key. But again, let's see what the Mavs mindset's going to be. I mean, they put up a fight last night, which is great after what happened on Friday, but this might be sort of the death knell for them. But again, we'll see.
Yeah, a couple of the statistics to wrap up our game 4 review, game 3 rather, review from last night. In the assist department, the Dallas Mavericks were outdone by the Warriors 28-18. Offensive rebounds, as I mentioned earlier, Lakeena, in the segment, 14-7 edge for Golden State over Dallas in the offensive rebound department. I thought Charles Barkley also made a great point about that on the post-game show on TNT last night as far as offensive rebounds is concerned. Overall, defensively, 33-26 for Golden State. In the total turnover department, Golden State had 13 turnovers, but they were shooting the ball so hot from the field that really did matter. But check this out: the points in the paint. Dallas with 34. It didn't seem like it at the time, but they were missing a lot of open shots. But Golden State had 46 points in the paint.
Yeah, I think that's not good. If you're trying to, the paint is, they can shoot from the paint too. I mean, everybody thinks that the Warriors can only shoot from 3, but they can shoot from the paint as well. And if you're not sort of, blocking out Draymond and Poole, and then, especially during the interior, that's going to be a problem. So I don't know I'm sure the Mavs will try to do something. I'm sure Jason Kidd will try to see if he can pull something out of the hat, but it's going to be very hard to do. So we'll have to see what happens.
You're listening to Second City Sports, all new edition for Monday. We're live in 11 color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakeena here with you, talking NBA playoffs and conference finals. Let's switch over to the Eastern Conference, Lakeena. Game 4 will take place tonight between the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat from TD Banks North Garden at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on ABC. But let's review last Saturday night's Game 3 action that took place in Boston, Lakeena. The Miami Heat go and win Game 3. They're taking a game on the road, 109-103, leading that best of 7 series 2-1. Jimmy Butler went out early in the second half with a right knee injury. Bam Adebayo, as you said on Friday, Lakeena, he had to step up. Stepped up, he did. 31 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists. PJ Tucker chipped in with 17 points. Kyle Lowry had 11 in 29 minutes of action. Max Struss has 16 points as a starting point guard. And off the bench, Victor Oladipo struggled with 5 points, but Tyler Herro, who's going to be out for tonight's game, he chipped in with 8 points. Lakeena, and we'll get to the Boston's numbers in just a moment, but Lakeena, as the Miami Heat were up by 20-plus points, they had to hold on for victory. The Boston Celtics got back in the game defensively, as we all thought they would, but they turned the ball over just a little bit too much, especially down the stretch, and you don't win many games doing that.
No, you don't, and I think that's what killed them. And your guys were kind of getting hurt back and forth. I mean, I know
This is a MASH series.
yeah, I know, right? I mean, Tatum had to go out for a little bit. I know Marcus Smart, got banged up for a little bit. Hero got banged up, but now he's not going to be able to play tonight. So that could be huge for Miami. Look, Bam, it's interesting, right? I mean, he became the fourth player, center, I should say, to lead, their team in points, assists, steals, and blocks in the playoff games since the steals and blocks became a stat back in the early 70s. He joins Hakeem, Dikembe, and Kareem as the only guys to do that. So he stepped up. And remember, too, Jimmy was hurt a little bit. That knee was kind of been bothering him a little bit on and off all season. So he was able to step up. He only had 8 points, but again, he was hurt. Bam stepped up big time. Lowry had 11 points. So it was definitely a team win. Now, Hero being out, that could be an issue for them, but we'll see if Duncan Robinson, Victor Oladipo, can those guys step up and win there. But yeah, that's going to be very interesting. Look, as far as Boston, I mean, I don't know what happened. I know Graham Williams had 10 points. Daniel Tice only had 1 point. That's not gonna cut it. Guys, they just weren't. But outside of him, there really wasn't a lot of there wasn't really anybody that stepped up. Other than the stars, with the exception of Tice. So that's going to be a big problem because the role players for the Celtics have to step up. They want to get back into the series.
Yeah, speaking of the role players, the bench for Boston only totaled 16 points. 10 of them were from Grant Williams, and that's not going to get it done. Peyton Pritchard, as you mentioned, he's been the unsung hero off and on for the Celtics throughout the second half of the season and throughout these playoffs. He only had 3 points. Let's see what he does in tonight's game 4. But Marcus Smart, he had that ankle injury midway through the third quarter. He did come back to score 16, but you could tell he was bothered by that ankle injury. He did give it a go, but even though the Celtics got back in the game, if he was totally healthy, maybe the outcome would have been different. But if he plays tonight, I expect him to give maximum effort. And like you said, who's going to be the healthiest after all this is said and done? Jason Tatum struggled with 10 points. He had a pinched nerve. As of right now, he's probable for tonight's game. He's expected to play. And so we'll see what happens with that. He was struggling before that injury late in the fourth quarter with 10 points. That was his finishing stat line. So Jason Tatum, if he plays tonight, he's going to have to score more than 10 points. Al Horford with 20 and 14. How much does this guy have left in the tank, Lakeena? You have to give him props for what he's done, but if you depended on Al Horford to do everything from the interior, that's going to be a problem. That's why you brought up Daniel Tice. Who else is going to help out Al Horford in the paint?
Yeah, that's going to be sort of the thing, and because they really don't have a lot of guys in the paint other than Tice and Horford, so that's going to be definitely going to be the issue. And like I said, I think everybody needs to step up, though. I mean, Luke Cornett and everything else. So maybe I don't know. I mean, Pritchard needs to. We know he can do it. We've seen him do it this year in these playoffs, especially. Derek White. I mean, he needs to step up a little bit more as well. Nick Stauskas. But yeah, I mean, I feel like look, I think the Celtics have sort of the weapons to perhaps stay right there, especially now that Hero's going to be out for Miami. But again, I think teams have to step up and they have to hit their threes. That's another thing that kind of killed them. So they were 11 for 33 from they were 12 for 32. They actually did well from 3. It was just that they weren't really good they were good from the field too, but they just didn't hit the shots where they needed to. And to Miami's credit, look, their defense stepped up and they were able to. I know Boston scored like 31 points in the fourth, but it was kind of a moot point after that. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I feel like this series could go 6 or 7, but again, I think Celtics have to answer the call tonight.
Yeah, and speaking of defense, and that's what Miami's calling card has been all season long. You take a look at the statistics from Game 3, 24 turnovers for Boston, going to the comparing to the Heat's 9 total turnovers for the game. Great job by the Heat taking care of the basketball, but they forced a bunch of turnovers, especially late when Boston was trying to come back. They got it to within 4, but that was the closest that Boston would come close to late in Game 3 on Saturday. Total blocks, Boston had 7 to Miami's 4, but points off the turnovers, this was key. The Boston Celtics had 33 points off of turnovers. The Miami Heat had 9. But let's be honest here, the Heat were hot in that first half, and when the Celtics were coming back, the Miami couldn't shoot the ball well, especially in that third quarter when the Celtics were making a charge. And also 2 points in the paint, 48 to 34. As I said before, Lakeena, who's going to help out Al Horford in the interior for the Boston Celtics? Now, Bam Adebayo had a career game in terms of points for the Miami Heat, but for the Boston, that's really going to be key. Who's going to have the healthy bodies left?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, that's going to be sort of the thing because guys are falling by the wayside, and again, this is sort of survival of the fittest. I mean, no team's really healthy this time of year, so I think that's going to be the thing. And it's like I said, survival of the fittest. So we'll see. And there might not be any players left by the time the series is over with whoever ends up winning. So, but yeah, I mean, tonight I think with the Celtics they have to step it up from the interior. They have, their role guys. I'm talking about their bench guys outside of Williams. Well, Williams still does need to step up too, but more guys need to step up. Because if not, especially with Hero, even if Hero's out, they have a lot of depth there. Heat doesn't kind of combat that. So if you're the Celtics, you better try and get your guys to step up more.
Also, too, on the flip side for Miami, I'm looking for Duncan Robinson, who's seen limited action in this series. He saw the most in Game 2, which turned out to be a blowout for Boston. But I'm looking for Duncan Robinson. How much does Eric Spoelstra trust him? How many minutes will he play? I'm looking for him to have a big game tonight. Kyle Lowry, he's still trying to work his way back through that ankle injury. It's been bothering him all season long. Let's see what he gives you tonight. Jimmy Butler, we assume that he's going to play. I assume that he's going to be on a limited minutes basis. We don't know. It depends on the floor of the game. So this is a crucial game for both teams, but mostly importantly for Boston because they trailed 2 games to 1 in this series. So I expect Boston to have a better effort tonight. They were right there on Saturday, but they just couldn't close the deal. That as I said before, they turned the ball over one too many times, especially late in that game, and so. Well, has the most pressure is Boston. They're down 2-1. This is their second game at home in Game 4. This is it for them tonight. Not saying they can't win on the road to Miami if they lose tonight, but you're really playing with house money if you lose tonight. If you're Boston, Boston.
I think that's sort of the thing where I think people need to remember that. And we know the Celtics can do it. We've seen them do it, but I think the problem is that now their guys have to step up, and we'll see if they can do it tonight, because if not, this series could get out of hand, and it could probably get out of hand quick.
Yes, here is the schedule for this coming weekend. The National Basketball Association, as the conference finals are starting to come to a close. We're halfway through both series now. Tonight, as I mentioned, 7:30 ABC Central Standard Time is Game 4 between Miami and Boston, live from the TD Bank North Garden. The Miami Heat lead that best of 7 series 2-1. Tomorrow, Tuesday, will be Game 4 between the Warriors and Mavericks in that Western Conference Final. The Golden State Warriors will try to complete a sweep. Their game's at 8 o'clock on TNT. And, of course, Wednesday we'll have Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals back in Miami between Boston and the Heat. That's at 7:30 on ESPN. And, of course, Thursday, if necessary, Game 5 will be back at Golden State between the Warriors and the Dallas Mavericks on TNT. So that's your schedule for the NBA playoffs for this coming week.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Cindy Brown. I'm Lakeena McGee. Okay. Zach LaVine, rumor of the day. Apparently Dallas has now expressed interest over the weekend. I guess like one of Mark Cuban, I guess him, the owner of the Mavs, I guess himself kind of said that they would be interested in signing LaVine. The only problem is that they don't have the cap space, so it's sort of like all these rumors are kind of coming out of the woodwork now. They say they are gonna, various blogs, they say that they might pursue him during free agency. So that's the latest rumor. the latest team to come out and say that he would be interested, they'd be interested in perhaps getting Levine. I am so over this at this point. It's just absurd.
Well, they give us back Jalen Brunson and Spencer Dinwiddie. They may be a start, but I don't know if that's going to go down like that, Lakeena. Now, it's great for Dallas because Zach LaVine would definitely help out Luka Doncic. All the pressure would be taken off of Luka, just like all the pressure was taken off of Zach when DeMar DeRozan was acquired to come here to Chicago last summer. So from that standpoint, that makes sense. But if you're AK and GM Mark Eversley for the Bulls, unless I'm getting back Spencer Dinwiddie and Jalen Brunson, or you may have to work out a third team for a trade, I'm not doing this. It makes sense on the Dallas side, but for the Bulls side, unless I mentioned Dinwiddie and Brunson, no. Unless I missed something, no.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like one of those things where you're probably if they want to do this, it's going to have to be a sign and trade. So they're going to have to perhaps sign. The Bulls probably got to sign Levine to the deal, and then they were going to have the Mavs going to have to get like some guys to match, like you said, whether it's a Brunson or whether it's a Dinwiddie or somebody like that. Maybe add like a pick, maybe a pick or two to perhaps maybe level that equal the value. So it's one of those things where you're like I said, I'm sick of the rumors at this point. It is just absurd to me that this is still like a thing. Look, I'm sure Zach will enjoy free agency. Now I still think he's going to end up. I think he's going to end up staying with the Bulls. They're going to give him the max because the only team that can give him the max. And look, I think. Again, I think they're going to wait and see what he does before we even, go into anything else. But it's going to be very interesting, though, to see what happens here because I'm sure there's going to be another team by the time we come back on Friday. I'm sure there's going to be another team that's going to come out of the woodwork and say, hey, you know what? We want Levine, too. So it's just like, come on now. At this point, I'm just sick of it.
Yeah, I'm sick of it too. Lakeena, I know we had to report it because it's news, but Zach LaVine asked management to do what they had to do to put a competitive team around him. They did that with Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan, as I mentioned. They added Vooch at the trade deadline last year. So you saw what this team did this past season, which they had the potential of doing great things if they stay healthy. And if this management can make another move, which I think they will. What move will that be? Who knows? But funny things usually happens in the NBA during free agency. We know this is not a great free agency class this summer outside of Zach LaVine. But as I said before, and I'll say it again, the Bulls have to sign Zach LaVine, especially to the maximum deal, because it's going to show you that the Bulls are serious of being a competitive team, not just a competitive team, but taking that next step to becoming a championship competitive team. And it'll attract future free agents to come to Chicago, which they had a bad reputation for a long time.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the thing. And I'm sure they'll do the right thing. I can't ever say, like you said, bad guys move in silence, as they say. So I'm not worried about them not getting, such and such or, whoever. But at this point, I think I just want to, it'll probably be a while before we get a final decision from Zach. So I'm thinking that, okay, look, another team wants to come out and say they want to sign me, fine. And considering who his agent is, I think they'll probably say, just let it kind of breathe a little bit. I know Casey Johnson said that it's not a slam from, NBC Sports Chicago. I know that it's not that he's saying that it's not a slam dunk that Zach will come back to the Bulls. But I mean, okay, look, I'm sure let him enjoy free agency. He's earned the right to do it. So I think people need to just sort of, chill and just let the process. I know. And I'm not saying trust the process, but I think just let the process play out.
Yeah, we have one city that's going through that right now in Philadelphia. Right now, the process is not good in terms of winning rings. So we'll see how is it with the Zach LaVine saga. We'll keep you posted right here on Second City Sports for any further developments there. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 straight ahead as you're listening to a Monday, all new Monday edition of Second City Sports, live in the living color on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. Next hour, we'll have Lakeena's PGA Tour review. Also, we'll get into the Stanley Cup playoffs. Action is heating up both on and off the ice. We'll explain. And we'll have a whole lot more. Plus, we'll have a tribute as we do Old School TV Monday. We'll pay a tribute to this TV show that helped revolutionize a network. We'll give you the answer to what and who and what that is after this. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago. NBA Thursday, the Bulls dropped their second straight 126-109 the loss at New Orleans. The Bulls are 42-31 with the setback. Zach LaVine led the scoring for Chicago with 39 points. Kobe White had 23. The Pelicans got 30 points from Devontae Graham, 25 from CJ McCollum, and a double-double from Jonas Valanciunas. Up next for the Bulls, they'll try and snap the skid tomorrow night when they visit Cleveland. The Blackhawks put a 2-game winning streak on the line tomorrow when they visit the Vegas Golden Knights. Chicago with a 4-3 win at Los Angeles yesterday. Alex DeBrincat had the shootout winner. Colin Delia made 43 saves through overtime in just his second start of the season. Spring training Thursday, the Angels beat the Cubs 5-4. Today, it'll be the Cubs taking on the Rockies. The Giants beat the White Sox 9-6. Today, the Sox will face the Mariners. For lightning fast sports updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of the most popular sports apps in North America. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
Nobody protects you from mayhem like Allstate. I'm a speed bump. Did you hear what I said? I'm a speed bump. And if you have cut rate car insurance, the cost to reattach your muffler could really be a bump in the road. So switch to Allstate, save money, and be better protected from mayhem, like me.
Based on coverage and limits selected, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. In most states, prices vary based on how you buy. Allstate Bar and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel teaches you conversations that you will actually use. With 14 languages and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll learn what matters most to you. Babbel. Language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com.
Welcome back to Second City Sports. We're picking up hour number 2. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeena, which is she. I am Sidney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidK80. Once again, at SidK80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keita McGee on the Twitter and at Keita_McGee on the IG.
We have less than 60 minutes left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments during our last hour of the show, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comment section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. Lakeena, hour number 2 kicks off with our Stanley Cup playoffs update. Lakeena, I wish we were in the studio to blast up that ESPN hockey music. Let's review the action that took place over the weekend. We'll start with Saturday's lone game in the Western Conference second round between this game took place in St. Louis between the St. Louis Blues and the Colorado Avalanche. The Colorado Avalanche won Game 3 by the score of 5-2 to take a 2-1 series lead. Nazem Kadri, who scored one of the goals for Colorado with incidental contact to Blues goalie Jordan Binnington, who won the Stanley Cup for them in 2019. He's out with the injury for the remainder of the playoffs. There's been some death threats sent to Mr. Kadri's room after that. We all know that it's physical at this time of year. Unfortunately, freak accidents and injuries take place, especially on the ice in the game of hockey. But sending death threats to the opposing player, that's inexcusable. You have the right to boo and cheer and within the white lines, no pun intended, but using racist terms and sending death threats, and that's just uncalled for, period.
Yeah, I saw that injury. There was nothing malicious about that
Exactly.
injury. I mean, it was just like you said, it gets physical during the playoffs, especially in the NHL. And look, guys, just so happens that unfortunately Buzzle got hurt. So, to say that, I think they called him also too like a racial slurs as well. It's sort of one of those days I think people just need to kind of just chill out and whatnot. And in that game, I feel in that game yesterday, I kind of feel like this could be the turning point of this series. But again, we'll see what happens tonight. So it'll get very interesting. This series, I think this series it was an interesting series even beforehand, but it got even more interesting after that injury. So I think, yeah, look, I think tonight's game is pivotal for the Blues because they got to get back into it. Because if not, the Avs are going to take back control of the series.
Do you think the Blues will do anything in terms of retaliation, or just should they just focus on playing a full 60-minute game? Because doing something in a retaliation fashion, it's just going to make the situation even worse. Like I said, the hit wasn't malicious at all. It was not. I hope the Blues players understand that. Just take whatever internal feelings they have and just use it to a positive light to play better in Game 4, because they got outplayed, especially after that hit on Saturday.
It did, and they got bum rushed. Like, the Avs were to pull away after that
Yeah.
hit. So, I think the Blues need to kind of just look, if you want to send a message, a little bit, give them a couple of 4 rounds to the glass, fine. But after that, I would say just leave it alone and just play your game, because this is a pivotal Game 4 for you. It's a must win. So get back into get your mind back into it and just try to perhaps try to even the series.
All right. We had 3 games on Sunday yesterday. Let's go through them, Lakeena. The first game in the Eastern Conference second round, the Tampa Bay Lightning, it looks like they're on their way back to the Eastern Conference Finals. They have a 3-0 series lead over their state rival Florida Panthers after a 5-1 win yesterday. Lakeena, I thought that the Panthers would be competitive in this series. They let me down. So coming up on Tuesday, Game 4 will be pivotal for them, obviously, because they're down 3-0. But Tampa is showing you that they're the better team.
Well, they'll show you why they're two-time champs. Back-to-back champs. They're current back-to-back champions. That's what you're seeing right now. And I said this earlier. Look, the experience. Stamkos has looked really good. Nick Paul, looked really good as well. Kucherov had a goal on Sunday, yesterday, I should say. So yeah, it's sort of, look, I think the Lightning is showing you that they're the class of the NHL. They're the class of, right now, what everything's going on with everything. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see, can the Panthers bounce back? Because if not, they're gonna they have to, because if not, they're going to be going to the golf course. So more guys need to step up. Drew, this is your first rodeo. We haven't seen him much so far. Reinhardt needs to step up. He had a goal on yesterday. That was the lone goal that the Panthers had, but he could do more. So let's sort of try to, if you're the Panthers, try to be aggressive. It was one of those cases where the Panthers jumped early and didn't really look back. So if you're the Panthers, you better, like I should say, they jumped on the Panthers early and didn't look back. So if you're the Panthers, you better try and get that quick start, because if not, you're going to be going home.
I think this is perfect time for Sergei Grabowski to seal a game for the Panthers. You think it'll be this perfect time? You're down 3-0. You haven't looked great in this series, so you think perfect time to take the team on your back from the goalie position. But we'll see what happens tomorrow night. The third game of the Hurricanes Rangers series took place yesterday from MSG after being shut out on home ice on Friday and getting booed mercilessly by the New York fans. The Rangers bounced back with a 3-1 win. Now they trail their best of series 2-1 to Carolina. The Rangers finally put some goals on the board. Let's see if you can do that consistently. That's been your problem all year.
Yeah, Chris Kreider and Mika Zibanejad each scored a goal, and they're actually 3-0. The Rangers are when they score, so maybe they need to step up a little bit more. The Hurricanes, on the other hand, are now 0-4 with a -10 goal differential on the road. So they haven't played very well on the road these playoffs. So I think that's going to be the thing, especially with Game 4, I should say, coming up tomorrow in New York. So it's going to be very interesting, and we'll see if the Hurricanes can bounce back. I know Ronta had a couple of he had 30 saves in total, but just really couldn't get back into it. Sort of the Rangers need to kind of just keep it going and try to maybe perhaps get they scored an early goal and such, and they'll just try and kind of get back into the swing, so that way you can even the series.
In the last game that took place yesterday, going back to the Western Conference second round matchup, after the Calgary Flames 9-6 victory in Game 1. They haven't won a game since. The Edmonton Oilers have won the last 2 games. They won on Friday in Calgary. And, of course, they brought it back to Game 3, which took place in Edmonton yesterday. Edmonton wins it by the score of 4-1 to take a 2-1 series lead in that one. Lakeena, the big stars for the Flames haven't stepped up yet. Well, after Game 1, the Oilers say, we got to wake up, and they have taken it full advantage. Daryl Sutter, the head coach of the Flames, you got work to do, my friend.
Yeah, they have not. They've been struggling offensively since that. Beating the Oilers 9-6 in that opener. But look, Evander Kane had a hat trick. He now has 2 hat tricks this postseason. He's the first Oilers player with multiple hat tricks in a single postseason. Yuri Curry and the other guy, Wayne Gretzky, both in 1985. When of
We're
course the
both feeling
Oilers.
old right now.
I know, yeah, both of when the Oilers won that cup, we were part of that little dynasty they had there back in the early to mid '80s. But it's sort of, I think. Look, I think the Oilers made those adjustments, after that 9-6 loss, and they've been able to they've been bouncing back since. And I feel like, the Flames, their guys need to step up a little bit more. Kachuk needs to step up. Goudreau needs to step up. We haven't really heard too much from any of those guys. And look, I get it. Markstrom had 34 saves when he was pulled, I guess, because he got banged up. But you know what? That they need to step up offense. They need to be more aggressive on the defensive side. Try to, tame Kane and, tame McDavid and try to maybe force the other guys to step up. But you guys also need to step up as well if you're the Calgary Flames. So I would say, try to look. If they don't step up tomorrow, it's going to be, they're going to be, in a deeper hole. I'm talking about the Flames, and they might not be able to get out of it.
Yeah, I don't think the series is over for Calgary, but I think they should use what happened last night as a wake-up call. So, like I said, head coach Jared Suter has a lot of work to do for his young Calgary Flames squad. Lakeena, let's take a look at this head of the schedule for this upcoming week in the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight. Both the games can be seen on TNT starting at 6 o'clock with Game 4 of the Eastern Conference second round between the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning. This game will take place in Amalie Arena in Tampa, Florida. Of course, Tampa leads that series 3-0. At 8:30 on TNT is Game 4 between the Blues and the Avalanche in that Western Conference second round. Colorado leads that series 2-1. What happens tonight in both games?
I think if you're the Lightning, you better try and do what you've been doing the last couple of games. Jump on that a quick start, and then just try to pounce early, and then maybe take the will out of the Panthers. If you're Colorado and St. Louis, hopefully there are no punches thrown. I think that's the best thing you can hope for in that sense, because there might be some punches thrown during that game. And I think if you're the Blues, you need to kind of just concentrate on trying to even the series with the Avs. You don't want to be into even bigger hole than you are right now. So I would say just try to be aggressive, be smart, and like I said, just try and just do what you can and try to get this back into this series.
I will go with the home teams for this one tonight. I'm going with Tampa Bay to finish off Florida, and I'm going to take a chance of going with the Blues over the Avalanche. I did have Colorado winning this series. They should win this in 5, but I said don't be surprised if this goes 6. So St. Louis, this is their best opportunity to win tonight. If they don't, this series will be over in a hurry.
Yeah. So
tomorrow, scheduled Tuesday, both games can be seen on ESPN starting at 6 o'clock. The first game will be the Hurricanes-Rangers series in the Eastern Conference. Of course, it was Game 4. They'll be in Madison Square Garden. And the Rangers trail their series 2-1 to Carolina, followed by the Flames and the Oilers in the Western Conference second round. Of course, Edmonton leads that series 2-1. That game can be seen on ESPN at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time.
I think the Rangers will find a way to get back into the series and even this series. I think they were able to, hopefully they can keep the same game plan. Like I said, the Hurricanes have not played well. They've given up a lot of goals on the road. So I think the Rangers are going to try to take advantage of that, and perhaps that'll be one of the reasons why they even this series.
In Wednesday's schedule, Tampa Bay and Florida, Game 5 if necessary. But one game will for sure we know that's going to take place on Wednesday. They'll be on TNT. Time to be determined. That's Game 5 of the Blues Avalanche series in the Western Conference second round. And of course, on Thursday, Game 5 between the Rangers and the Hurricanes will go back to Carolina. That's at 6 o'clock on ESPN. And at 8:30 on ESPN on Thursday, Oilers and Flames Game 5 from Calgary. And that's your schedule for the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs for this upcoming week.
I think the Flames will be going back to Calgary tied with them. I think
so too.
I just don't think I just don't think the Flames have been too good this year, and I know they've been wanting the top seed, so I think they're gonna do what they can and try to kind of be more aggressive, in the center, and just try and maybe perhaps even the series up with the Oilers. I think that's what's gonna happen.
All right, you're listening to Second City Sports, all new Monday edition right here on Sports Zone Chicago. We're live in living color. Sid, Lakeena here with you. Lakeena, we had a new winner in the PGA Championship yesterday. We had a couple blown leads. Tiger Woods pulled out of action late on Saturday. Give us your review of the tournament.
Yeah, the PGA Championship took place in Southern Hills in Tulsa. Justin Thomas wins again. This is his second PGA Championship. Of course, he won in 2017. He came from 7 shots back. That's actually tied for the third largest comeback in any major championship. Of course, Paul Lawrie. He was down 10 in the 99 Open. For all you golf fans, you guys remember what happened. John Vanderbilt, went down to the skimmies and he had a 10 shot. It was a long story. More people remember that than Paul Lawrie, who ended up winning the tournament. Also Jack Bird Jr., who was 8 shots down. You got to go all the way back to 1956 in the Masters. So he was 8 shots back. So they're only they have those are their top 2 in that sense. Now Mito Pereira from Chile. He had like a 5-shot lead. He was a third player over the last 20 years to double bogey the 72nd hole in a major and finish 1 shot out of the playoff. Unfortunately, he joins Phil Mickelson and Colin Montgomery, who did in the 06 US Open, if you guys remember that. They both doubled the final hole. Of course, they ended up finishing 1 shot behind, of course, the eventual winner, Jeff Ogilvy. So that's about $800,000. That's a big difference between where Pereira finished. He ended up finishing third, and Justin Thomas, $1.3 million, about $2 million. That's the difference between first and second. He and Zalatoris had a really good playoff. Aggregate scoring 3 holes. Justin Thomas made the shots to win and such. But I think another guy that's probably kicking himself right now is Cameron Young. He was like closest behind. He was actually even further, further in front of Thomas, but he, I believe, double bogeyed at 16th.
Yeah, he finished 4 back.
Yeah, he would have won the tournament had he had parred that. So that if he had not double bogeyed that, he would have ended up winning the tournament. So I know he's probably kicking himself right now as well. Now, as far as Tiger is concerned, unfortunately, yeah, you can kind of tell. I saw a little bit of his round on Saturday, and you could tell he wasn't 100%. He wasn't himself, and that knee is still bothering him. And I'm surprised that he tried to play on that knee. We talked about with our girl Christine Manica. I think she said the same thing. Like, why did Tiger try to play? I know St. Andrews really what he's going for in the next couple of months. So maybe he should just take a.
I was going to ask you, should you just rest up before the next big tournament? I think he should.
Yeah, I think he should.
I think I can kind of express what I was trying to say on Friday. He shouldn't have been playing. I don't want to tell another grown man what to do, but it would be in his best interest for Tiger Woods not to compete. We all know that he's a competitor. He's a committed guy. He likes to finish things out. But like I said, he's not fully recovered from that knee injury. He's not. Like I said, just take the time and rest before the next big tournament, like you said, in a couple of months.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see if how it is, because you can tell too. I'm sure you saw stuff. I know others, you guys probably saw it too, that he did not look good. I mean, he swung the ball, and we could tell he was wincing in pain, so it was hard to see. So yeah, I can understand why he decided to withdraw from the rest of the championship. But yeah, he had no business playing that.
Yeah, so hopefully Tiger can get well for the next big tournament coming up in a couple of months. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid, Lakeena here with you. Lakeena, we have some news from the NFL. As we always say, the NFL is a 12th month sport, and this weekend they didn't disappoint. This news just came out a few moments ago. The NFL debuted Hard Knocks in season last year with the Indianapolis Colts, which that team failed to make the playoffs, which missed changes. Carson Wentz is in Washington. Matt Eberflus is our new coach for the Chicago Bears. And the Hard Knocks in season, the team for this year will be, if you hear that drum roll, the Arizona Cardinals. Yes, that Arizona Cardinals that's suspended for 60 games as of now. DeAndre Hopkins and the unhappy quarterback Kyler Murray. Yes, that team will get your full attention for the second season of Hard Knocks in season. Last year saw the first ever in season edition of HBO slash NFL Films Hard Knocks, focusing on the Indianapolis Colts. That was in addition to the typical preseason Hard Knocks on the Dallas Cowboys. This year, Hard Knocks for training camp will go to Detroit to focus in on Dan Campbell's Detroit Lions.
Mm-hmm.
The in-season version brought some interesting behind-the-scenes look at the Colts, from the preparations from their monsoon game against the 49ers to how head coach Frank Ryan found out about Quentin Nelson being placed on COVID protocols, to off-the-field angles like Darius Leonard's work on his daughter's hair.
Mm-hmm.
It even drew some attention from other NFL coaches, with the New England Patriots head coach Bill Belichick saying his staff used it to scout the Colts, even though the Patriots lost that game late in the season, as you well know. HBO and the NFL Films announced Monday that the in-season show will be back for this fall, in addition to the normal preseason schedule this summer, as we mentioned about the Detroit Lions. They'll be covering the Arizona Cardinals. And just going through this statement here, the Cardinals are no strangers to documentary programming covering their seasons. It says here, All or Nothing, which was their first feature from Amazon way back in 2016, which covered the 2015 season. Of course, that team lost in the NFC title game to the Carolina Panthers. However, there's a significant difference in timing. All or Nothing aired after the season, while this program this time will be aired during the season. Lakeena, do you like your teams being more covered from an insider's perspective, or do you think the NFL Films are doing too much?
Well, I think it depends on how you look at it, right? I mean, look what happened last year with the Colts. They were right there to making the playoffs, and they ended up, not making the playoffs. I know that I saw what Coach Belichick said, that they kind of used that as sort of, a scouting thing. They actually ended up losing that game, so it really didn't do them too much good. Now, if you're a coach, would you want your team to be kind of filmed, doing the Hard Knocks thing in the middle of the season? I don't know if you want that, especially if you're kind of like on the cusp of going to the playoffs. So I don't know if you want that. So, but again, we'll see where Arizona is by that point. I mean, it's going to air in November. So, DeAndre Hopkins should be back from his suspension by then. So, like I said, we'll see where they are. If they're kind of still right there in the, in the cusp for the NFC West, which they should be, I think, okay, let's see if it doesn't become a distraction and whatnot. Like I said, this is like this is like preseason, like they're doing with the Lions. This is going to be in season. So it's going to be very interesting to see what this does, because if they end up making the playoffs and this doesn't end up becoming a distraction, then I'm sure more teams would be, I don't want to say willing, but they might think about doing that. Now, if they end up not making the playoffs, or if they're not having a good start, you may not want to see, Cardinals may not want to see their team there. But yeah, again, it'll have to depend on what happens.
And if you're a former NFL player and former Baltimore Ravens GM, Ozzie Newsome said it best: it's hard to win in this league with no distractions. Now you have added elements on with extra cameras in your locker room and in the film room. That could distract some people, but you still have to go out and do your job. I want to ask our viewers and listeners out there on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube, do you like to see your favorite team featured on Hard Knocks, whether it's the in-season version or the preseason version? Put your comments in the comment section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. Shout out to our guy Nomad. Nice to see you back in the chat room, my man. He says TMI locker rooms should be off limits. You would think, because the locker room is a sacred place for players. I know many players don't like to have their personal space invaded, and which is within their right. But Lakeena, as we talked about this before, the way we used to get our content, as they call it now, through just the TV and radio, newspaper, and magazines, those are no longer options. People want and need more options. I think this is the way for NFL Films and all these networks that are involved with the NFL to create more content. The more eyeballs are on these programs, the more money they get, and the more money they get, the more of these programs will come along.
And that's what really is all about money at this point. And I think, look, the ratings, the Colts, when they did it in season, it rated well last year. So of course they're going to do it again. So, but yeah, I mean, I understand what No Man's saying, that it's a sacred place. They got the limited access and such. But look, sometimes some guys, may not mind it, especially if you're going through some things, during the season. You don't know what these coaches are going through and some of the players are going through. So, like I said, it's all going to depend on where the Cardinals are by this point. Like I said, if they're still right there, you may not want that distraction, or even if they're have underachieved, you may still not want that distraction. So I think it's definitely going to depend on what's going on with them as up to that point, when they get to that part of the season in November.
Now, there's been a bunch of teams, mostly the popular teams that have not been featured on Hard Knocks yet. The Pittsburgh Steelers, the New York Giants, I believe in the Jets as well. Of course, the Chicago Bears, Green Bay Packers. The Dallas Cowboys been on there twice for sure. I think maybe even 3 times, but twice for sure. Cincinnati back in the day at the end of the Chad Ochocinco era. But there's a bunch of popular teams that haven't been featured on that program. Would you like to see your team being featured on that program? Let us know on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Lakeena, I would like to see the Bears at some point being featured on Hard Knocks because they're the charter franchise of the NFL, and there's Bear fans all over the country. And we have Chicago transplants all over the United States and abroad. And so I would like to see the Bears featured on there.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. I mean, I think, look, there are a lot of great teams that you like to see probably perhaps maybe featured in some type of Hard Knocks capacity. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Baltimore. I mean, Buffalo especially.
Yeah, Baltimore was the first one following their Super Bowl year in 01.
Yeah, and I know Buffalo with everything that's been happening there. Miami might be an interesting one too. Tua, now that you got a new coaching staff there. Jacksonville might be interesting too. I mean, they've made some good moves. Some people say they might actually be good this year with all the moves they've made. New Orleans, see what they go through. I know people will love to see Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. That should be that'd be an interesting one too. Kansas City, but I don't think Andy Reid probably would want that. So maybe not. Denver, which has been a very intriguing. Now we got Russell Wilson there and such. Who else? Cleveland, all the stuff that's been happening there.
I think they were featured a couple years ago.
They were Cincy. That might be an interesting one too. Minnesota, I know they just got a whole new regime, so they may not be ready for that. Like the Bears, they may not be ready for that kind of access yet. Tampa, although I'm sure as long as Tom Brady's playing there, that might not happen. Seattle, we'll see what stuff they're going through. The Rams, all the weirdness in the Rams there. So
they were featured back in 2017, I want to say, or 2018. I had to look it up, but they were featured not too long ago.
Yeah, but still, I'm sure people want to see, that there, especially since they've won the Super Bowl. That'd be pretty cool. Washington, I'm sure a lot of people would love to see Washington, especially all this stuff. Again, also has been going on there. No, but I understand what you're saying. His college locker room, we can hardly imagine how bad it is in the NFL. Yeah, it could be a pain. Especially if they ask you some of the same questions and such. Yeah, it could be a pain having the reporters there. And I know some reporters are just trying to kind of, pluck you to, get, to have a headline and a sound bite, especially nowadays. So I can understand with no man. I'm sure other players and coaches probably feel the same way about not wanting to, not wanting to have to deal with reporters and such on the regular. But again, it's sort of one of those things where you'll be interested to see what happens. And like I said, this Arizona especially, well, like I said, it's going to all depend on where they're at that point by the time this airs. But I'm kind of intrigued. I might check it out.
Yeah, I know we're running up against it, Lakeena, but just a couple of other teams. Would you like to see Miami this year, especially now with Tua Tagovailoa? The pressure's on him. Now you have a new target in Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, that would be interesting, though. I think that would be an interesting. That'd be pretty interesting. I wouldn't mind seeing that.
I was going to say New England, but the NFL Films did that with Belichick, I think, a decade ago. So they're not going to touch New England, so you can leave them out of it. Let's see. We covered the North, AFC North. Like I said, Baltimore, they were the first team 20 plus years ago. Behind the scenes, Lamar Jackson wouldn't be too bad. He's one of the most popular and polarizing players in the league, so I wouldn't mind seeing Baltimore this go around.
Yeah, and I think who else?
Shout out to our guy Nomad once again. It ain't pretty with two buttons. They can do is break out into a fight.
Well, look, some people might find it entertaining, Nomad. I don't know what else. I don't know what to tell you. But I mean, like I said, it's gonna be very interesting though to see, especially like I said, at one point will, especially with everything that's been happening with the Cardinals and such. A lot of pressure going to be on them this year, especially. So Kyler's not happy. You got DeAndre Hopkins going to be suspended for the first. But like I said, he should be back by the time that comes. But it'll be very interesting though. We'll see what happens. All right, so we got to take a really quick break. Again, we'll have more NFL stuff. Nick Foles has found a new home. Reunited with an old coach. We'll we'll talk about that. Also, some other things going on too. Also, the French Open is starting right now. I actually did not realize that until I heard Chris Fowler tweet it out yesterday. But yeah, we'll talk a little about that. Also, too, we're gonna play tribute to a groundbreaking TV series. Oh, though I said it's not. Okay, and I'm sure it isn't pretty. But with that said, though, this is Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. We'll see you on the other side of this break.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago. NBA Thursday, the Bulls dropped their second straight 126-109 the loss at New Orleans. The Bulls are 42-31 with the setback. Zach LaVine led the scoring for Chicago with 39 points. Kobe White had 23. The Pelicans got 30 points from Devontae Graham, 25 from CJ McCollum, and a double-double from Jonas Valanciunas. Up next for the Bulls, they'll try and snap the skid tomorrow night when they visit Cleveland. The Blackhawks put a 2-game winning streak on the line tomorrow when they visit the Vegas Golden Knights. Chicago with a 4-3 win at Los Angeles yesterday. Alex DeBrincat had the shootout winner. Colin Delia made 43 saves through overtime in just his second start of the season. Spring training Thursday, the Angels beat the Cubs 5-4. Today, it'll be the Cubs taking on the Rockies. The Giants beat the White Sox 9-6. Today, the Sox will face the Mariners. For lightning fast sports updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of the most popular sports apps in North America. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
Nobody protects you from mayhem like Allstate. I'm a speed bump. Did you hear what I said? I'm a speed bump. And if you have cut-rate car insurance, the cost to reattach your muffler could really be a bump in the road. So switch to Allstate, save money, and be better protected from mayhem, like me.
Based on coverage and limits selected, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. In most states, prices vary based on how you buy. Allstate Bar and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel teaches you conversations that you will actually use. With 14 languages and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll learn what matters most to you. Babbel. Language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com.
Welcome back to Second City Sports, the all-new Monday edition right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeena McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at CK80. Once again, at CK80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter and at Keenan McGee on the IG.
We have exactly less than a half hour left in the show for today. You have any questions or comments during any of our topics throughout today's show, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you as we continue our NFL talk. Lakeena teased us going into the break. Nick Foles, now former Chicago Bear QB, he has a new home. Tell us more about it, Miss Lakeena.
Yes, I can. This is according to Mike Garofalo. This is about a couple of hours ago. He has agreed to terms with the Colts. He's agreed on a 2-year deal. Of course, as you guys know, Frank Reich was his QB coach when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. So now he's officially Matt Ryan's backup. So I'm not surprised by this. I know they tried to do this trade, I think, last year, but I guess I don't know if it was terms or whatever. But they were able to, the Foles got what he really wanted was to reunite with his guy Frank Reich. So I think this is a good move for the Colts, especially if Ryan is not productive, which he shouldn't. I think he should be. He's going to be in a controlled environment like he was in Atlanta. But knock on wood, if Ryan gets hurt, you got a very proven and formidable number 2. And let's be honest, that the quarterback play was sort of the thing that kind of that bit the Colts in the butt last year, if you know what I mean. So I think now they've got 2 solid QBs, veteran QBs, and they've got like a great tandem of playmakers there with the Colts. So this definitely should help them, and no doubt about it.
Like I said, Frank Reich is a very good coach, and you mentioned Carson Wentz not having that confidence. He also balanced some injuries stemming through the preseason last year, and that's why the Colts were out of the playoffs. Remember, Frank Reich came in the same time as Matt Nagy, the former Bears head coach, which we'll get to in a second. And back in 2018, he came off that mess with Andrew Luck that the Colts had to deal with, and they made it to the playoffs his first couple of years as head coach. So Frank Reich is a very good head coach, and let's see if he can get it right with Matt Ryan at the helm, which I believe they will.
Yeah, I think they will too. I think they'll be able to figure that out. And this news came across the wires, kind of like under the radar a little bit with everything going on with the playoffs and also with the PGA Championship going on. But the Browns have reached an agreement, which they inclined to, on a 1-year extension, $11 million for 1 year. He had 9 sacks and 2 forced fumbles for the Browns last season. He and Miles Garrett have been a really solid tandem on the defensive side for the Browns. So what do you think about this deal with Clowney?
Clowney is a respectable player. He had a respectable year, so the Browns wanted his services. So congratulations to him and the Browns. The Browns are going to need it because you have new quarterback at Deshaun Watson, and whenever he plays, after the 6th week or the 8th week of the season, we still don't know if he's going to even be suspended by the NFL. But with that being said, back to Clowney. Cleveland, they need a strong defense, especially if they're going to put up some points like people expect with Deshaun Watson at the helm. You need a good defense to hold down the fort against the opposition. So it's a good move by the Browns.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think more depth. I think that's sort of been the thing. You're going to need your defense to kind of pick up the slack, especially if in case Watson, is suspended for a long period of time. So that's definitely one of those things where I think they had to lock Clowney down in order to kind of make sure they have that depth there. So okay.
Go back to our guy Nomad. He says on YouTube, he says Foles is a good QB. I don't know why people gave him so much grief here.
Well, I wouldn't say that they gave him grief. I think they just didn't use him. That was probably the problem. Like I said, our girl Christine from KXRB, Christine Manica, she said that, look, I think Foles should have been out there more, especially since it was kind of, the turn that Fields wasn't ready and whatnot. But, look, I'm sure he's going to want to prove a lot of people wrong. I don't think it's that he got a lot of grievances that they didn't use him. I think that was really the problem.
Yeah, we know Matt Nagy was forcing Nick Foles down Trubisky's throat. And then that whole situation turned out to blow up in his face. And, of course, last year with Justin Fields, it was ugly. Speaking of getting ugly, if you want to say, Lakeena, there was a new article that came out on a Bleacher Report regarding the old Bears regime and Justin Fields over the weekend. And I have a couple of quotes courtesy of Eric Lambert from Sports Mockery. And this is quoting the article from the Bleacher Report over the weekend. This is quoting Justin Fields' first quote. I'm more comfortable this year, he said. I'm kind of know what's coming and know what to expect. Me not knowing if I'm going to be the leader of the team or not. Last year compared to this year means a whole different mindset. Just comfortably and knowing that I'm going to be the guy and that this is my team. This is my team is definitely a different mindset as I try to be a leader for everybody on the team. What do you think about that first quote?
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of one of those things where I think we all agree that Nagy only agreed to have Justin Fields drafted because Trubisky didn't work. And we all saw what happened after that. He refused to meet up with Trubisky during the offseason and such when he first got the job and yada, yada, yada. Now, as far as Fields, he just didn't have the players around him, and the personnel just wasn't there. And so we'll see with a new regime and, new players. It's going to be very interesting to see how he looks. And I think that's going to be the $1 million question. You're going to have a lot of new faces, so we'll see.
In the second big quote from the article over the weekend from Justin Fields, being a coach on the field, he said when asked about the biggest individual goal of the offseason. Of course, we have a new offense this year, and the only person who really knows the whole offense is the offensive coordinator. Even the coaches are learning the offense. Just being a coach on the field and being able to control everything and have everything going on smoothly out there, end quote. As you say, Lakeena, that's going to be the key. I think everybody's asking, what's going to be the identity of this Bears offense? I believe it's going to be, as of right now, running the football because Justin Fields doesn't have the weapons that he needs right now. Now, because some of them developed throughout the year, depends on where the Bears are record-wise. Yes, but right now I believe the Bears' identity is running the football and let Fields take over from there. You don't want to put everything on Justin Fields just yet. You got to see how he develops. Last year we saw it in flashes, but we all know that he still has a long way to go. I think he's still going to be good here, but it's still going to take some more time.
Well, yeah, I think it's going to take a while for that offense, especially since, now that he still doesn't know the offense yet, but he's got time and they're doing OTAs right now as we speak.
We're
So,
going to the second week of that.
yeah, so they're going on right now, and I feel like this is going to be like one of those things where this is sort of the time when is he going to have to spend some extra time with the new OC and see if they can get to mesh well with that offense. And it looks like it's going to be kind of like a run heavy offense, so you may see more David Montgomery. He's going to be featured more. I know the tight end's going to be another thing too. I see Nomad. I keep telling all the panicky fans that our wide receiver is very talented. Well, I mean, let's just wait on that until we can actually see how they look at, especially in this new offense, in this new regime. So, the sort of like the way this the style of this offense is going to be more. We'll see more Cole Kmet. We'll probably see more David Montgomery and some of the other running backs.
Khalil Herbert too.
Yeah, so it's going to be one of those things where you're going to be like, okay, how is this going to sort of play out? Especially since this is going to be kind of interesting how this sort of this offense sort of is played well against when other teams especially start figuring it out. The problem with the last regime is that they figured it out pretty quick. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
All right. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, an all new edition for Monday. Sid Lakeena here with you. Let's go back to the basketball world for just a moment, Lakeena. Your boy Stephen A. Smith making his presence felt again for ESPN. I don't know if you caught this before Saturday's game 3 between the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. He entered with the bravado that he said, in quote, "I'm averaging much more than that for ESPN and Walt Disney." Of course, Stephen A. Smith is working on the pre- and post-game shows for the NBA Countdown on ESPN with Mike Greenberg, Michael Wilbon, Chicago's very own, and Jalen Rose. Stephen A. Smith entered Boston's TD Bank Garden for the Eastern Conference Finals like an absolute superstar, properly reminding everyone he's the MVP of ESPN. NBA players have transformed the arena interest into somewhat of a fashion show in recent years, garnering attention from camera operators as they embark on a short walk from the parking lot to the tunnel. Prior to Game 3, fitted suit, black shirt, and tie, keeping his sunglasses on the inside dark corridor of the TD Bank North Garden before giving Michael Wilbon a finger point. Smith offered more swagger than any other sports media member. And the clip went viral, generating more than 3 million views and thousands of comments, including one fan who joked he's walking around like he's been averaging 32.9, 32.9 and 6 in this series. Smith didn't argue the point, but quoted the tweet the fan to defend his threat. Lakeena, love him or hate him, but being paid between $10 and $12 million a year for a network that's saying that you're the face of it, he can basically do whatever he wants.
I mean, okay, whatever. Next topic. Because I have nothing against Stephen A. Smith. I mean, you do your swagger, you do, your thing, and hey, look, he's been able to do this for about 20 years now, almost. So, okay, whatever.
I think Nomad was sums the best here on our comments page on YouTube. Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah, that's pretty much. You just said, you just covered the words right out of my mouth, my Nomad. So next topic, going back to the NFL for a second, and I'm sort of, I don't know, sure if you saw this, going back to the Bears. Could Robert Quinn be on the move? Apparently, I guess various reports are saying that he could perhaps maybe make a return to the Rams, or maybe Dallas should, maybe perhaps make a pursuit for him. I mean, there's some, they're cleaning a lot of cap room. Obviously, the Bears are rebuilding. There are a lot of teams that are interested. That clears up more cap room. He was very productive for the Bears last year. He's one of the good guys in the locker room. So what do you think about this?
Realistically, what can the Bears get for Robert Quinn? He's 32 years old. I know he had a career year last year with 18 sacks. I think it's safe to say even if he stays healthy, he's not going to get 18 sacks again. If he gets half of that, there'll be an achievement for him, or double digits, there'll be an achievement again for him. But realistically, what can you get for him? You're not going to get a first-round pick. I doubt if you get a high second-round pick for him.
You may have to sell, if you're the Bears, you may have to sell for maybe a third or a fourth rounder so that you can probably get him off the books. So I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see what this does, because there's rumors been around for a while now. So it's going to it's gonna be one of those things where I'm just wondering, like, okay, what's gonna be. It'll be interesting to see what Ryan Poles does, because I feel like it's gonna. This is sort of one of those things. The rumor's been going around. The rumor's been up for a while now, so we'll see what
Mhm.
happens.
Yeah, No Mass checks in again on our comments page on YouTube. We need veterans. That's true. But, when you do a rebuild, you do need some veterans, but it's hard to identify which ones do you need to help those young guys along. So we'll see what happens with that. Lakeena, did you say you had some more news before we get to our old school TV Monday tribute?
Yeah, Sam Koch, if you guys don't know the name, I'm sure you probably have seen him on the field. He hasn't really had to do too much. He is the longest tenured Baltimore Raven. He's actually one of the last guys from that team that won in 2011. He's retiring. It's been sort of, he's been 39. He'll still be there with the Ravens as a special teams consultant and a mentor to Jordan Stout, the punter from Penn State, who they drafted. The Ravens did, and yeah, he's been around a while. I mean, he's the only active player with a longer current service with his team besides Aaron Rodgers. So, excuse me. And yeah, so he's one of those guys that's been around for a minute, and he probably didn't have to do too much since he really didn't have to punt too much. 11 long putts is still a franchise record. Of course, Justin Tucker had a nice little, rapport as well. Didn't really do too much. He was the, if you guys remember the highlight of that 47 Super Bowl, he recorded one of the most important safeties. To help them win that Super Bowl over San Fran. So, yeah, and from that 2012, I mean, he and Jimmy Smith, who's unsigned at this point. Of course, he got released. Earlier, in the off season, they were the only two players that were left from that team. So, it's like, of course, Tucker and also Josh Bynes, who is another one of those other guys that are there from that holdovers from 2011 to that 2012 team, I should say. Of course, they were younger then, but yeah. So, congrats to him, and enjoy a nice post football career, Mr. Coate.
Yeah, congratulations to him. Hope everything goes well for him in his transition from the playing field to off the field. You're listening to Second City Sports. We're live and in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, taking you home in these last few minutes on the Monday edition. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. Lakeena, I think that this has started to become a tradition on the show. Every Monday around this time, we'll give a salute to old TV shows. There are unsung. Hopefully the guys at TV One are watching and listening. Will give you some ideas. I know they got Unsung Hollywood, but we like to pay tribute to underground TV programs, as TV specials that made a difference in the American culture. And this week, yours truly wants to salute Fox's TV's old school comedy show in living color. That's right. That was one of my favorite TV shows growing up. It started in the early 90s. A Living Color is an American sketch comedy television series that originally ran on Fox from April 15th, 1990 to May 19th, 1994. Keenan Ivory Rains created, wrote, and starred in the program. The show was produced by Ivory Way Productions in association with 20th Century Fox Television, and it was taped at Station 7 at the Fox Television Center on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood, California. The title of the series was inspired by the NBC announcement of broadcasts being presented, quote-unquote, in living color during the 1960s, prior to mainstream color television. It also refers to the fact that most of the show's cast was black, unlike other sketch comedy shows such as Saturday Night Live, whose cast were mostly white at the time. It was controversial due to the Wayans' decision to portray black humor from a raw and uncut perspective in a time when mainstream American taste regarding black comedy had been set by shows such as The Cosby Show, causing an eventual feud over control between Fox executives and the Wayans. Other members of the Wayans family, Damon, Kim, Sean, and Marlon, had regular roles, while brother Dwayne frequently appeared as an extra. The show also starred several previously unknown comedians and actors, including Jamie Foxx, Jim Carrey, Tommy Davidson, who's from Chicago, David Allegria, and Kia Krista Kimaya. I think she's also from Chicago as well. The show introduced Jennifer Lopez and Carrie-Ann Inaba as members of the In Living Colors dance troupe, the Fly Girls, with actress Rosie Perez serving as choreographer. For those of you younger folks who wonder why Rosie Perez left Soul Train, this is why. The show was immensely popular in its first 2 seasons, capturing more than 10 point Nielsen rating in the third and fourth seasons. The ratings faltered as the Wayans brothers fell out of favor with the Fox Network executives over creative control and rights of the program. The series won the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Variety Musical Comedy Series in 1990. The series gained international prominence for its bold move and its all-time high ratings, gained by airing a live special episode as a counter program for the halftime show of its U.S. leader CBS's live telecast of the Buffalo and Washington Super Bowl for Minnesota in January 1992. Prior to the NFL to book a A-list asked for future game entertainment, starring Michael Jackson the following year. That was the Buffalo Dallas Super Bowl, the first year from Pasadena, California. In 2018, history of the show, Honey, Don't Play That by David Pessner was released by 37 INK, an imprint of Simon & Schuster. Lakeena, before we continue, I would just like to say that In Living Color was one of my favorite shows at the time. It was raw, it was real, and at the time, Saturday Night Live was celebrating their 15th year anniversary because Saturday Night Live got started in 1976, I believe. I remember telling people at the time that In Living Color was better than SNL. Of course, Saturday Night Live is still going on to this day. It's still a 90-minute program, but the things that In Living Color were able to do in that short half-hour program, it was amazing. I wondered if the Wayans brothers, the Wayans family, had a conversations with Fox to extend that program to an hour, because they could have done a whole lot more with an hour.
Yeah, they could have. And the whole thing, that was one of Fox's first big hits, of course, after Married with Children, The Simpsons, Tracy Ullman Show. That kind of was his first.
21 Jump Street, Parker Lewis.
Oh, well, Parker Lewis was actually after that, but I mean, it's sort of one of those shows that definitely, it was groundbreaking, kind of paved the way for it. You saw a lot of folks of color. You saw blacks and Hispanics and Asians. They had a couple of Asian comedians on there too. Of course, carrying out on the dance troupe. No Man Said it was genius. It was genius. Convo will never be duplicated. I mean, it kind of paved the way for Mad TV. It's kind of like kind of like carry the torch for it. It had its moments. Deborah Wilson is one of my favorites. I think she should be a subject of unsung too, because she definitely was sort of one of the reasons why that show stayed afloat for as long as they did. That show. Look, as far as Living Color goes, I remember that was actually one of the reasons people forget, that was one of the reasons why when they aired a live show during that Super Bowl, I actually switched over to that instead of the halftime show. Like a lot of people, and of course that prompted the NFL to do like acts and whatnot. Of course, again, everybody, No Man Said SNL couldn't hold a candle to Living Color. It's probably right about that. They weren't afraid to go there with some of the social issues that was going on and such. With David Allen Greer and Damon Wayans and that Men On segments. Those are one of my favorites. Of course, Homie the Clown. Of course, nowadays I think people would have frowned upon a character like that. You probably won't see a character like that in any of these sketch comedy shows nowadays.
Right, especially with the climate that we're living under today. So very, very groundbreaking from that point. I know TV One, I think, did this about a year or two ago. They replayed that episode. I don't know if they're still doing the reruns now, but do you remember who was the musical guest on that Super Bowl special?
I forgot.
Color Me Bad.
Oh yeah, I remember that. And it was sort of, they had a big hit too at the time. That's probably why they
from New Jack City. I want to sex you up. That's right.
That was.
You mentioned prominent skits from the show. The Homeboy Shopping Network featured Damon and Keenan as streetwise criminals operating an unlicensed home shopping network style shopping network out of the back of their van to sell stolen goods. This was one of my favorite ones. Fire Marshal Bill, played by Jim Carrey, as an unhinged, dangerously incompetent fire marshal. Everything burned down except for him. Let me tell you something.
that was definitely like I said, those sketches probably would not be, it would not fly in this climate. I just don't think that would happen, especially with the fire marshal bill, and also too the stuff that selling hot stuff, with of course with Keenan and Damon, what they did. I mean, the show when they left, the Wayans started leaving like little by little. Of course, Damon went on to to do some movies and such, and then the other Wayans family members left after that, and the show just wasn't the same. And I kind of felt like that's one of the reasons why it probably could have stayed as long. It might still be on. I don't know. I don't know if it would have stayed on as long as SNL. I mean, some people said SNL should have been went off the air about a few years ago.
Yeah.
But of course, with Pete Davidson, who's one of the current stars, and some other folks are going to be leaving. Kenan Thompson, who was the longest tenured member of SNL, he left a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that this might be the end for them, but I don't know. But going back to Living Color, I mean, like I said, I mean, a show like that, you wish that a show like that could probably come back, nowadays. But again, with YouTube and with TikTok, I mean, you really don't need to do that. But for what it was, Living Color definitely kind of paved the way for some of the, guys, folks became stars after that. I mean, of course, Jim Carrey saw his career go up to the stratosphere. Jamie Foxx, who came on in the second season, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Carrie Ann Inaba, what she's done, with Dancing with the Stars. And of course, J-Lo, of course, we know where she's been, working consistently these last, 20 plus years. So yeah, so a lot. And look, I mean, the Wayans family, they're still around. They're still producing shows and such. So it's not like they haven't, they kind of just disappeared after Living Color ended. But of course, Tommy Davidson's been working pretty, consistently. I think he just came out with a new book. David Allegre is a Tony Award winner, theater actor, which was where he came from. Before he started doing the Living Color. So,
Exactly.
So a lot of folks have been doing pretty well. I know Tequila Crystal Kima. I think she is from just outside of Chicago. She, of course, ended up becoming a Raven's mom. I don't know what happened. I don't know why she left the series That's So Raven, but that's kind of like been like the number one question, like a lot of people. But yeah, I mean, look, I think In Living Color is sort of one of those shows that, like No Man said, it will probably be it won't be duplicated, and it probably a show like that probably would be hard to launch now, but. But look,
I know they tried a decade ago, but it just didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't really fly. So different generation. I feel like some of the skits, 2 snaps and whatever, all that.
I was just getting ready to go into that Men on Film. I said 2 snaps and the rest. Homie the Clown. Of course, East Hollywood Squares, Benita Burrell featuring Kim Wayans as the untrustworthy neighborhood gossip girl. Of course, parodies are Arsenio Hall. Keenan Ivy Wayans really killed it with that. He had the long finger every time he started talking.
And Miss
those
Bonita,
were legendary.
Yeah, Miss Bonita with Kim Wade. It's like, look, I want the gossip, but you didn't hear it from me. So
exactly.
People use that. So it was just very memorable, and I think they did honor them during their 30th a couple of years ago. Of course, with the pandemic, I know they had to do a virtual, but hopefully maybe in a couple of years for their 35th, maybe they'll do a special. Maybe Fox will do a special, or maybe they'll stream it on Hulu or HBO Max or whatever, so they can really go uncensored. So maybe get some of the folks to come back and perhaps maybe reminisce and share some secrets. So. We'll see, but I mean, shout out to the folks over at Living Color for for kind of groundbreaking television.
And props to the late great rapper Heavy D, who passed away. I think it's 11 years ago this year. Of course, he did the theme song to Living Color. That was solid. That's what him and Eddie F produced and did that theme song for In Living Color. So so we like to pay tribute to In Living Color, the TV series that kicked it off. Was one of the first shows for Fox from back in the early 90s. So that was a great TV show. Shout out to No Man who's watching us and listening to us. Saturday Night Live couldn't hold a candle to In Living Color. You damn right on that one. I was sad when it went off the air after 1994. It was raw, it was real, and really touched on some issues that even people that look like us didn't want to put out in the public, but they went there and made people laugh and made people think as well.
Yeah, so definitely one of those shows that probably will never be duplicated. It's probably going to be hard to perhaps maybe even do a show like this now, especially like you said, different climate. Of course, you've got things with TikTok and whatnot, so you can always just go on TikTok and if you want to do something like that. So, but for what it was, I think Living Color was definitely kind of paved the way.
I think TV One is still re-airing those shows. I'm not sure. So. But you can always check out. I know there's a few episodes on YouTube in its entirety. So go to YouTube and type in The Living Color, the TV series, and I know there's some episodes that are on there as well. So check it out, especially for you younger folks. Check it out to see what that show really did for television, network television back then.
Yeah, definitely. Be very interesting there. So, what are you looking forward to this week, Sid?
The White Sox getting back on track. Hopefully, they carry momentum what they did last night in NYC, in the Bronx in particular. As we mentioned, the Red Sox are on fire. They swept away the Seattle Mariners at home at Fenway over the weekend. Let's see if the Sox can win their series, and then they have a day off on Friday, and then they take on the hated Cubs for this upcoming weekend for a 2-gamer.
Yeah, that should be interesting. Lots of great series coming up too, of course. But so shout out to Man City for I think this is their 5th Premier League title. It came really literally down to like the last few minutes. They scored a goal late against Villa to hold off Liverpool and win the Premier League. Also, too, you got the French Open going on right now. Of course, Nadal recorded 106th career win at the French Open in the first round. He's going to go for his I think it's like his 14th French Open, which is absurd. He already won the Aussie Open this year. Coco Gauff won her first round match. Let's see. I think Novak makes his first return to the Grand Slam tonight. Tomorrow. So he'll be playing his first round match tomorrow. And Naomi Osaka was upset. So now that the women's side it's wide open, I don't think Serena's playing. I don't think so. That women's draw is wide open there, but we'll see if golf can make a nice little run. I know there's some other players that are, especially Ash Barty retired, so now that's wide open. But so enjoy the French Open, all you tennis fans. This is and out of Roland Garros. Also, too, we'll see if some series might be over with. In this next few days, tonight or tomorrow night. So both NBA and the NHL. So we'll give you guys a rest with that.
All right. With that being said, Lakeena, take us home.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Make sure you follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast, Second City Sports at War on Anchor. We are available on all podcast platforms. And make sure you follow War Media at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Make sure you catch Second City Sports live in 11 color, no pun intended, every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more game, as you young folks would say. Catch Second City Sports live in 11 color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, exclusively right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
All right, folks, enjoy the sports, everybody, and all the everything else that's going on. Stay warm out there. I know it's cooler in some spots. Stay cool. I know out east it's pretty hot at this point. So whatever we need to do, wash your hands. Wear your mask because the numbers are going up again, folks. Make sure you guys wash your hands if you're not going to get vaccinated, and wear a mask. For Sid, I'm Lakeena. This is Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you Friday.
You can do what you want to do in living color. Holla!
I'm glad he stopped because I think he wouldn't have had to pay the royalties.